My dudes, what's happening, man? It's Trent. I know many of you have been noticing I've been posting a lot more frequently recently. Well, part of that is because the Twilight Monk game is like so close to coming out. And in fact, just this past weekend, it was the first weekend in February, and we had a playtest on Steam for PC users. And my team and I were able to watch several people stream the Twilight Monk game. It's just the first, I'd say, couple of hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours. Really good feedback, really good response. Nerve-wracking when you put this thing out into the world you've been working on for like 2 whole months. I'm just kidding. It was actually like 3 years of development. And we finally got to see how people were going to engage with it. That's a very exciting thing. Can also be very nerve-wracking because you don't know, when you're making a game, a lot of times it's like you're creating a new language and you don't know how people are going to use it. And so playtesting gives you direct feedback. You can watch and go, oh, okay, so people are having a hard time figuring out that puzzle there, or oh, maybe if the player does this thing, edge case scenario that we didn't anticipate, then this thing reacts in a weird way. So we got to find all those little things. And don't get me wrong, this is after hundreds of hours we have a specialized QA team that's finding tons of bugs. So this was as polished as we thought we could get it. And then we let people play it. I wanted to highlight some of the people that did stream it. First of all, for those of you who are early adopters that just jump in and they're like, this looks cool, I want to give this a chance. I know you're not going to get mountains of people tuning in to watch your stream for playing a game that isn't already famous, right? So those of you who do stick your neck out a little, and like, to me, you're the super fans. Like you're the crown jewel of what streaming should be, because it's just about the passion for the game. It's like you saw something you liked and you're like, hey, I want to dig into this. And that we really, truly appreciate that. That's where I want to highlight your channels. So those of you who want to support Twilight Monk and want to support more indie streamers, check out some of the people that I'm going to be mentioning here in this video. I'm going to talk a little bit about just things that we picked up from each person that posted. So we watched several people stream the game, and one of the standouts was Polarity. And this guy played it perfectly for us to learn from how people will play the game, because he played it like a casual. That's not, no, I don't mean that as a jab. I mean it like he played it like a person, normal person who isn't playing games 24 hours a day. This guy, he went through and he was talking about his thought process throughout every step of the way. And we found that he wasn't the only guy who got stuck here, but he did get stuck here. And it's something that's so obvious to us as developers, because we used to have an NPC here that told you what to do. And we know, oh, you have to put the pillar down right here to open this gate. And we wanted to utilize the pillar more in mechanics within the dungeons. And this is to teach the player, hey, you're going to be putting the pillar down every time you see one of these platforms. But he didn't see any visual indicator to show him that anymore. And we had removed it. So I basically had to go in afterwards and I here's my fix. I basically put in a visual representation of a pillar right there. So it's not spelling it out for you unless you're paying attention to the room around you, because it would be very easy for, and this is what Polarity did. He just went through here and he saw this is a blocked path. And he thought, well, maybe I just don't have the ability yet. And that's what Metroidvanias are. Sometimes you just don't have the ability yet. And we had to give some clue, some indicator to go, you do have this ability. It's just you're not seeing to use it right here yet. So that's one example of how a playtest like this is super valuable for us. And so thank you to Elliot Fay, who also did a stream of this over on Twitch. You can check out his channel over there. He did a great job of sort of showing us some of the enemy behaviors that we needed to improve. In fact, one great example is these wall crawlers. I wanted a very organic kind of curvature to the cave kind of tiles, but it just wasn't working with the AI. Like making these things turn on a curved surface just doesn't work very well. And our artist brain would go, oh, well, yeah, it's obvious. You just make like a curved thing and then you have the AI like do the, like, but the thing is that's a mountain of work to do. And it's just not something we have time to do. So I ended up fixing this by just making all of these surfaces more squared. And we just have to accept that this is a little bit more platformy. It's a little bit more uniform. We can't have unique AI for every edge case scenario. They work 99% of the time on every other surface. Just make the surface that they don't work well on, squared. That's like another good example. So there's just a little less floatiness in them. So they're not like sticking off of the surface, that when they curve those, or when they turn those corners, it's a more squared corner. So that's like another example of something that we realize we really need to address. It's a small fix, but it improves the presentation dramatically. So we also had some videos posted by Fearless Jet, Azel Dragoon, and there were some YouTubers that I wanted to mention. We watched Exceptional play through a good chunk of the game. He was really chill, really cool guy. That was another cool thing that I found. I was really neat to meet some people who'd been following the game's development on Discord, but that I hadn't met before. So that's been really cool. So yeah, check out Exceptional over on YouTube. He's also on Twitch. Also check out JJ over on YouTube. No commentary from JJ. It looks like he just streamed the game or made a video playthrough of it, posted it up on YouTube. We also had a playthrough by Dimagen over on YouTube, and much appreciated. Dimagen did a really good job with his commentary throughout. He just has a good personality, just very enthusiastic about the game, just overall. Generally very positive vibes from all around. Some of these I didn't know about until just now as I'm looking it up. Soulsborne Seeker on YouTube posted a video. It looks like he's got commentary throughout with subtitles. Yeah, he does, it's almost more review style. Like he did a playthrough where he's really breaking down like his thoughts on the game itself. We're gonna be digging into that as well. Like every one of these, we're paying attention. Like it's very important to us that people understand the game, because at first glance, it might just look like, oh, well, this is like Hollow Knight, or oh, this is like Super Metroid, or this is like this other game. It's really kind of got its own flavor and its own identity. And once you spend like an hour with it, you really start to see that. And I think that that's what I'm seeing a lot of these people that are digging into it this early on are finding, is that it is not what they initially expected. And it can give a little bit of like a sense of delight. We really didn't want to just give you more of what you already have somewhere else. It's like, this is its own thing. It's based on stuff that we really love. Like I love the RPG genre. I love the Metroidvania genre. I wanted to blend the two. This is the baby that came from all that love and just decades of playing retro games. And one thing I wanted to mention is, like, I've been making games for a long time. We've done playtests many times over for every game that I've worked on extensively. But the most valuable thing is not what people say, but what people are actually, how they're engaging with it, how they're playing it. And so if you're doing an indie game, it's like, get QA, get like players playing your game as early as possible, because that's how you're going to understand how your language is being like coming across. It's like you're talking and you're not sure if the other party's understanding what you're saying when you're not there to correct things. And resist the temptation to tell people where to go or what to do. Because when they get the game, every player, you can't go into their screen and say, hey, make sure that you put the pillar down there, or do this thing, or use this weapon, or use that weapon. And I noticed like players weren't using the mystic arts as much. And some of that is just learning how the player is going to interact with it. When I first played Dark Souls, I had no idea how to play it. But when somebody showed me how to play it, or when I watched people on YouTube play it, I began to understand, oh, here's how you level up your weapons. Here's how you use the flask. These were not things that the game explained to you, but the game grew organically, and it taught the player base, and then the player base spreads out. Like, here's how you play it. And that's what we're seeing with Twilight Monk, because it is very different than what you might expect. So watching players play the game is so valuable, and watching how they're learning how to play it. And when a player first starts playing that first dungeon, like I can play through that first dungeon in less than 3 minutes or 5 minutes. But for a new player, that's 20 or 30 minutes as they're figuring out the systems. They're figuring out this is how things work. And then they're getting used to the Ember and how that is used with their mystic arts, for example. And it's all very beautiful. It's an amazing thing to watch people figure out the language that you've created, and then to explore with it and start getting creative and start checking every wall for hidden walls, or start looking at every path and going, can I get through there yet? Well, maybe I don't have the ability. And then checking their map and then going back to town. And when they get frustrated or stuck on a boss, well, maybe I'm not powerful enough yet, but maybe I better go back to town or go back to that shop and get some upgrades before I come back. And watching people organically figure out the more efficient path. It's an amazing thing. And it shows you that blend where art and science really meet and come together to create this entertainment experience. And that's super rewarding to me. And so I want to thank everybody who tuned in, and not just tuned in, but like those who streamed. It's huge for us. I mean, just, getting the word out about an indie is always the toughest thing. We don't have massive budgets like every other game that I've worked on before. This is really grassroots. It's really like an indie project that I just always wanted to do. And so really grateful. It's amazing to me. Like, this has been a dream come true just to watch this small handful of people play the game. Grateful to all of you. And those of you who make videos, please do ping me over on my social media or get involved in my Discord and ping me over there. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And we've got some more news and announcements coming up for Twilight Monk. I'm going to have a lot of content about Twilight Monk. As you can imagine, I got to get to making some marketing art. I got to get to making some awareness for this game. So come along for the ride if you so dare. And I certainly appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. Not just for stopping by, but for checking out this indie Metroidvania game that I know you'll love. I know you'll love it if you give it a chance. So thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.